Hey, this is Mike Goldberg, the voice of Bellator MMA. Join us right now for MMA FanCast.
I'm just a violent individual. Jimmy, you did a great job with that.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You're listening to MMA FanCast. Here are your hosts, Jim Mooney and Luke Payson.
Welcome to MMA FanCast. This is Luke. I'm joined today by On a Streak, absolutely burning it up on the regional MMA circuit, John DeJesus. John, welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? Good to be here.
Hey, I'm so happy to have you back. As our listeners may remember, we had you on the show in November after your incredible second round KO over Ethan Goss for the 145-pound 247 fighting championship belt. In November, you came on afterwards. We did a little segment we like to call After Action Report, and you talked about how that fight went. It was great to have you on, and we wished you the best. And since then, you started out 2020 with an incredible KO round 2 at a different promotion out there for the Honor Fight Series out there in Ohio, January 11th. And so let's jump in and talk about that. Congratulations on that fight. That was another title fight. Walk us through it and tell us how it went for you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It was just another night in the office. You know what I mean? I went in there against a tough opponent, and Josh Roller fought him before, took him to a unanimous decision. This time the strap was on the line. I told everybody and their mother I was going to finish him. He's a tough dude, but I was going to finish him. I'm on a whole different level nowadays, and that's what I went out there and did. He kept pressuring me in the fight. In the fight, I even warned him, like, keep coming into my space if you want to. He did one last time, and boom, left hook.
Yeah, and your knockout was a one-hitter quitter, as they say. And obviously, we wish Josh the best in his recovery, but he was clearly out on his feet from that punch. Talk a little bit about the fact that you had fought him in April of 2018, as you already mentioned, and what's it like going into a rematch? Is this the first time in your pro career that you've had a rematch? And if not, what was the other time, and kind of how do you prepare for rematches?
Yeah, that was my first rematch in my career. And I felt like it was just a little easier. I knew what he felt like. I knew his strength. I knew what he was going to try to do to me. I mean, people evolve, fighters evolve, but at the end of the day, you're going to do what you're comfortable with. And he did everything that he was comfortable with. He did the same things last time that he did this time. And he just, you could tell that he picked up the striking game, though. That I will give to him. He picked up the striking game, surprised me a little with his pressure, with his striking. He looked real comfortable in there with me. You know what I mean? So, but his biggest problem, and we talked about this afterwards too, his biggest problem that he kept rushing in, but he kept rushing in a little too wide. And I ended up catching him. Yeah.
So when you said you talked to him afterwards, what's that like? After a fight, you obviously knocked him out, you got your belt. How did you have the opportunity to talk, and what's it like to talk to your opponents once the fight's over?
I mean, it all depends on the opponent. Josh Roller, I'll tell you right now, is the nicest opponent I ever had. Like, the first time we fought, the man offered me his food at weigh-ins. That's just uncalled for. Like, people just don't do that. Like, at weigh-ins, while we're sitting there starving, the man offered me some of his food. Like, that's how I knew it was going to be, a rough night to try to stay mad at him, try to keep that in mind. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're professionals, and we just went in there and did what we had to do. And then this last time around, he just came into my locker room. We spoke about the fight. I told him things that he did that, that he could do better next time in his other fights. And I told him I'd help him out. We could cross train, whatever. He's a real cool dude. I like Josh Roller.
Well, that's actually a great a great thing for our audience to hear that. And that happens a lot more than people might think. There's some great examples, even at the highest level. You'll see a former opponent either training together or becoming friends or helping each other out. And I think it's a great sign of where you are in your career. You're now 12-8, so obviously that was your 20th pro fight, which is important to point out. 20th pro fight. And so I think you're at that point as a champion in multiple promotions now, where it's kind of nice for you to give advice and give feedback to another opponent who's obviously defeated twice, but you want him to learn and grow. And it's also good, as you point out, that he clearly is increasing his striking game. And that's something that I think people sometimes miss in MMA, is that there's so many facets of MMA. I mean, just layers and layers and layers. And obviously you talked last time you were on with Ethan, knowing that you had to be good with your takedown defense. And that's been something that you've gotten better and better at, your wrestling and your jiu-jitsu. And that's what I think people sometimes miss, is that MMA has so many layers that you want, even in his case, even losing to you, it's good for him to hear what you noticed was improved. And it's also good for him to hear what you could do better. So, getting back to you taking the fight, you are the reigning defending 247, 145-pound champ, and they have a card coming up, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, March 14th, but you had fought in November. What led you to take that fight in January? Obviously, you could have just hung back from November and waited till March, and clearly that's not what you did. So what led you to go out there and take that fight in January?
It's simple, man. I just like to stay busy. If my body lets me, I'll be in there every weekend. If I had the opportunity to be in the cage every weekend, my body stayed up to part, with the grueling training and everything,
Sure.
I'd be in there more often than not. But you know what it is, you can't always do that, especially at the highest level. So
Sure.
I was itching. I'm always itching to get back in there. I'm always itching to get better and to, fulfill my dreams of one day being in the UFC belt or whatever it is, showing the world what I'm about.
Well, and speaking of that, and I think that's the great attitude you have, is that you're willing to get out there. That's been an attitude that, in your experience, if when I was looking back through your list, you have fought everybody and anybody, and obviously 20 pro fights. Some of them have not gone your way, but you're at the point now where you've learned from them, and you took guys that other people wouldn't have taken. I know some specifics, but I won't really go into it. But I've seen guys on your list that you have L's to, where people would have been avoiding them and not taking them. So obviously you've taken hard fights, and now you're on a 2-fight win streak, which brings us to both knockouts, both for titles, which brings us to your next opponent, James Simmons, who has a 6-2 record. He's also on a 2-knockout win streak. And he tends to finish guys in the first round. He has 4 first-round finishers. You have a lot of finishes yourself. So going into March 14th, it's the first time you're defending for 247. 247 is barely a year old. April will be a year. So their March 14th card is kind of their first full year anniversary card. So what's it like preparing for James Simmons? And here you are taking a guy on a 2-fight win streak. You just mentioned wanting to fight the best of the best. How does that come about? How do you constantly put yourself out there? Do you turn down fights if a guy isn't what you would consider tough? Like, what are you looking for in an opponent? And then talk about James.
At the end of the day, I just want to get in there and I want to bang. I want to have a blast while I'm in there. Like you said, I've fought some killers in the past. Some of my former opponents are on to bigger and better things right now. You know what I mean? I can care less. I believe in myself. Some of the losses in my past have been all mental. I feel like I'm all there 100% and zoned in and locked in and loaded. So I'm ready to go. I don't care who it is. I don't care. I'm ready to go out there and put somebody to sleep.
Well, and I think that's always great. At any level of any athletic performance, it's important to know what's on your end and what's mentally on your end, what's physically on your end, what you can control. Because when you get out there, you can only control you. You can't control your opponent. You can control how you respond to your opponent, but obviously you have to control you. And it sounds great that you've gotten yourself better. You know where you are mentally. You know where you are physically. And I've had the pleasure now of seeing you fight just a foot away from me or 2 feet away from me, being ringside in your victory versus Ethan. And I'm so much looking forward to your March fight being that close, cage side, and seeing you in action and your speed and your movement. When you talk about training, you train at the Academy Pittsburgh. And there's a lot of killers in there, obviously headed up by you and Death Star and his brother Chaka. And I think you have another pro in your stable that's going to be fighting on 247 as well. So what's it like? Yeah. Talk about him. Talk about training. Go ahead. Talk about him and talk about training at the Academy.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, we got some killers. We got Kama, we got Jake Chilling, we got Shaka, we got Patton. You know, we're all killers that have that same mentality. And I'm gonna tell you right now, in the striking world, good luck with that, because that's my world. I've been doing it for 11 plus years. Mm-hmm. In the wrestling world, I got Jake Chilling right there wrestling with me, trying to take my head off, trying to slam me on my neck every single week. You know, I'm in there getting pushed every day, every week by the best around here. I go out to the Mat Factory and train with Isaac Grimley and the Mat Factory boys and those killers out there. We're in here working. We're ready to do big things 2020.
Well, that's a great thing to hear. Obviously, if you don't know, for people listening, Kama, the Death Star Worthy, has a fight coming up for the UFC, which to me is a long time coming. He had that incredible knockout win over an undefeated opponent on 3 days' notice, so it's going to be great. So you guys, all three of you, at least have fights coming up very, very soon here. And what's it like? Obviously, this is a pretty straightforward question. What's it like seeing everybody around you get big wins? And like you are a big staple there, and you're on a 2-fight win streak. Obviously, Death Star is at the best he's ever been. So what's it like seeing sort of that old phrase, a tide rises all boats? What's it like seeing everybody in the gym getting better?
It literally elevates everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Kama goes out there, does his thing, and it's going to be another knockout. Mark my words, first and second round, dude's going to sleep. You heard it here first. But when Kama goes out there, does his thing, I go out there, do my thing. Patton goes out there, does his thing. Jake, Shaka, Allen, that's not with us. We go out there, we do our things, and it just elevates the gym. We just train harder. We get better every single day.
Well, that's a great thing. And for those listening, check out all those guys he mentioned. If you don't already know who some of them are, you need to. Two of them will be fighting on 247. You need to get to 247 March 14th. They're going to absolutely pack out the Printscape Arena they have for the last couple times, and that venue is not going to be big enough to hold them too much longer. So if you're in the area, get to 247. I'm sure you're selling tickets, so you should reach out to a fighter directly. That's always the best thing you can do. You can also get them through, you can get them at the door and you can get them through it, but it's always good in regional MMA to get tickets through fighters directly and contact them. So let's just take it over. Give me a bird's eye view of the next couple months from you between now and March. Is it same old, same old? Do you have any trips going on? Are you going to another gym? Let's say you're traveling someplace to train, or are you just keeping this train rolling and this pattern you're on? What's kind of the next month and a half for you?
We train hard. On Sundays, I go up to Lower Borough and train with the Mat Factory boys and work on my wrestling and grappling. And it's just another day in the office. We train hard, grind till we get there, till we make it.
Absolutely. Well, we here at MMA FanCast obviously wish you the best. I'm a big fan. I'm so excited to have you on the show now for the second time, and we hope to have you on again right after your fight to have you talk about what we hope would be a win for you there for your title to fight. Do you have anything else you want to say? Thank yous. Mark my words, as you tend to be. Sometimes you call your shot. Do you have anything you want to leave on the program before we go?
For sure. I'm going to tell you something right now. Jamie Simmons is a tough dude. Like you said, he's coming off of 2 knockouts, and someone's going to sleep, and it ain't me.
Well, there it is. You heard it first here. I can't wait to see both of you guys throw down. I know it's going to be fireworks, and like you said, you want to be up against tough dudes. You want to be up against guys on a streak, because then when you beat them, it increases you, and so we wish all the best to you. Thanks for coming on the show. Best wishes to you and everybody at both the Mat Factory and the Academy Pittsburgh. And so thanks so much for coming on the show. You have a great night, sir.
Yeah, man, you too. Appreciate you.